Welcome to the Seraphiend podcast. I am Seraphine Arocha, and today my guest is the beautiful inside and out Kristin Simone. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am so good, and I am so glad that we have the chance to sit down now. It's been interesting because I met Kristin through another one of my guests, Lucia, for Lucia Sardo. That was with Natalia, and we both walked in her show.
Yes.
It was so fun. We both wore incredible angel wings. We've got to put that in.
We do. They were amazing. We look like Victoria's Secret angels.
I mean, it was incredible. The only thing was those things were so hard to walk in.
Yes.
Oh my God. The wingspan on those were insane.
I'm sure I hit a few people.
I love it. But anyway, when we met each other, it was an interesting night because it had a really cool, like, young vibe of Casey. And I mean, both me and Kristin are not old ladies, but we are definitely, we weren't there to party. We were there to walk and have some fun, but we hung out backstage, and I got to find out about you, and I really clicked with you.
I know. I had so much fun with you.
It was a really good time. So Kristin is actually, I'm going to bring up the title, and I also kind of want to talk a little bit about how you got into the world of pageantry.
Yes.
So Kristin is America's Most Beautiful Mrs. Missouri. I am like getting the goosebumps for you because you're going to be going and competing in the national.
Yes, the national pageant in Las Vegas at the end of July. It will be on July 30th and 31st.
Oh my gosh. So when you got into pageants, were you somebody when you were like younger, when you were a little girl, did you ever do pageants?
No, so I did not start competing in pageants until 2019. So after I had all of my kids and was married, I have 4 kids, including a set of triplets. So they keep me quite busy and on my toes. And it was something that I used to do fitness competitions. And one of my friends that I met there was at the time Mrs. New York, and then she went on to be Mrs. World. And she introduced me to that life and told me, I think you'd be really good at it. It's all about serving others, getting involved in your community, and I think you would really love it. So I did it in 2019 and won the title of Mrs. Missouri America. And after that one, I was hooked.
I love it. And again, it's something where I've had other guests on this show. Noelle Manick is another one who, her modeling career, she actually really started like in her 30s into her 40s. And I feel like it's really, the tides have really turned for women. I think that, when I was younger, I felt like, well, all the things that like modeling or pageants would be for when you're in teenager or like in your 20s. But now what I love is that there's so many opportunities to do all of the things at different times in our life. So before we dive into the pageant side, I'm so curious to know what you were like as a kiddo.
You know what? I was actually really quiet, not necessarily shy, but just quiet. I like to observe and take things in. But I will tell you, pageantry helped to give me my confidence because in my 20s, I didn't have any self-confidence. I couldn't look in the mirror, and I did not love the person that was looking back at me. And it wasn't because of anybody else. It was because of, I guess, just myself and internal struggles. But I never saw the beauty that other people saw. And it took me a really long time until I really found something for myself, which was pageantry, that I started to believe in myself and gain that confidence that I was able to step out and do this. I couldn't talk to a room full of people. I could barely look at somebody in the face and even talk to them because I was so self-conscious.
That's so wild. So like what were you interested when you were a little girl?
Oh gosh, always dance. I mean, dance.
Yeah, love dance. But
dance.
You didn't have to speak, right?
No, never had to speak. I could perform on a stage. That never bothered me, but talking in front of people was probably my biggest fear. And while it's still maybe not my favorite, I can do it, and a part of me enjoys it and getting to share my story because I feel like if that can help somebody else, then I want to be able to do that. And I want to show, especially, all of my kids, but especially my girls, what confidence looks like. And what, to me, beauty comes from the inside. It's about being a light so that people can see God through you.
Yeah.
And I just want to embody that for them so that they can see that and they can be that, because I don't want them to ever feel how I felt. I want them to always look in the mirror and know how beautiful they are.
And I love that about this particular pageant, because we had lunch just a week ago. And, when we were sitting down, the one thing I was really curious about talking to Kristin is, number one, she's so well spoken. She's smart. She's a mother of 4. I mean, you have, a husband who's a football coach. You're a woman of faith. You're somebody who, I know has a really good head on her shoulders. So I felt really comfortable to kind of navigate what I can call I think people have such a preconceived notions of pageants, and I feel like pageants got really run through the ringer in the last 5 or 6 years, especially with the Me Too movement. Do you feel like, I guess for me, there was a part of me that had a little bit of sadness, because there were things that I had really enjoyed that I feel kind of got the cancel culture of it's over. And what I'm so glad to see is that pageants in general have made some hard pivots. And I'd like to know more about the pageant you're involved in and what kind of sets it apart.
Sure. So the pageant that I'm involved in, it's called America's Most Beautiful. It's a brand new pageant. This is the first year of it. And the reason why I wanted to be a part of it is because it's all about empowering women. And I think that means different things to different people. To me, empowerment is about encouraging and inspiring other people to become the best version of themselves. It's about, giving them the confidence to be who God created them to be. And that looks different for everyone. And why I like this one is there's no one platform that you have to work for and be a part of. You get to do whatever is near and dear to your heart, which I think is important, because that's going to get more people out there and serving. And I think when we serve others, it really helps to lead us to our passion.
And what I love about this too is that you're not nudged into any kind of philanthropy that doesn't speak to your heart. Mm-hmm. I know that there's a lot of pageants that encourage women to do certain things, which again, I love any giving back to the community, but I think that we're now in a state of the world to where women, they get to have choices. They get to choose where they put their energies into, what they voice and give a platform to. And I also think that, to frame up beauty as living a beautiful life, internally, externally, spiritually, these are things that I think are such an exciting platform to have in a pageant, as opposed to it being just, beauty as in the stereotypical beauty pageant.
Yes.
So what are your hopes in terms of, this upcoming, obviously we're all like, we want you to win, but in the next breath, like what do you hope to gain from this kind of national pageant?
Yeah. So my passion is coaching women. I'm a personal trainer, but I don't think that it's just a physical aspect that you get from working out and stuff. To me, I take a whole mind, body, and soul approach. And so I want to be able to use those things and help women to become the best version of themselves. So, from the depressed friend who just lost a child to a mom with postpartum depression, and to the single woman with low self-esteem who doesn't feel worthy of love. We all have tears, especially as women. I feel like women really, throughout our entire life, have tears, and I want to be able to help them turn those tears into tenacity, into triumph, and into truth, because I think those things help them. And while we're working out, we work through those emotions and that pain and that struggle, and we turn it into our passion and our purpose.
I agree with you. I've always had a movement background, and I believe that we have to move through our emotions, because if we don't, they get stored somewhere, and they come out sometimes bigger and badder. It's like, that closet that you just keep pushing stuff in, and then you open it and it all comes pouring out at some point. I'd like to know for you, when was a time in your life where the lights went off, like ding, 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 no, I'm going through something and I'm finding a way of how to move through this something, and it's bringing me out on the other side into the light, basically. Can you?
Yeah. So there's a specific moment when I knew, okay, I've got to do something to get my confidence back and to get my voice back. And my daughter at the time was 3, and I caught her looking in the mirror, pulling at her belly button and making a face. And the light just went off, and it made me realize she's seen me do that. She's seen me pick myself apart. At 3 years old, she's modeling my behavior. And at that point, I knew I needed to make a shift in my mindset, because I want to be a positive example to her and be a role model to her. And I want her to look in the mirror and always see the beauty that I see. So at that point, that's when I got into fitness. Before, I had always been healthy and fit, but I never took it seriously. I never ate right. You know, I would eat the kids' leftovers, or I wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I got into fitness that that all started to turn around, and my mindset towards eating right, moving, taking care of myself. You know, I started journaling and just writing prayers to the Lord and about my dreams and my goals. And it kind of all went from there. And that was the time when I started doing the fitness competitions, what led me to pageantry. And it really all grew from there.
Do you think in the pageant world, because, you know, it is about, in some ways, like showing up. You put the crown on, you show up, you do what you need to do.
Almost like you have to be on all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you think that there is a way to pivot in that? And then how can you show vulnerability, but also show up?
Sure. I think you have to show people that you can be vulnerable, because that's what people relate to. They're not going to relate to the girl that is perfect all the time. And I think when you show people your mistakes and that, you know, everything in your life isn't always perfect, they're going to learn from that. They're going to grow from that. That's what's going to help them become a better person. So I always, when I try to show up, I try to be authentic and genuine to who I am. I'm not the mean girl. I'm not the catty girl. I usually am always really bubbly and have a smile on my face and want to make everybody feel welcome. I will hug you. I will kiss you.
Yeah.
So I think, I think the most important thing in that world is to just be yourself, because when you're anything but that, people see that.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, in the pageant world, you get a lot of that, but you can usually spot the ones that aren't authentic and who aren't genuine, and they're the ones that aren't approachable.
Yeah. What's something that that you're not asked about, that people might not know about you?
You know, I think a lot of people see, so you said it earlier, that when you first met me, you could just talk easily to me, and I was sweet and a joy to be around. I think people never knew the side of me before pageants, where I was quiet, I was reserved, and more, I wanted to be in the back of the room. I didn't want the attention on me. I didn't want the spotlight on me. I hated that. And somebody else actually told me that at an event that I just did. They were like, you weren't always like this? You weren't bubbly and where you could talk to people? I was like, no, I was in the back of the room. I didn't want you to look at me. It made me so uncomfortable if somebody was making eye contact with me. Because I think people think if you're in the pageant world and doing all of that,
it's just who you are.
It's who you are. And it's like, no, it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I was able really to gain my confidence and to be the person that you see now.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So when you think about friendships or family members, what's kind of their feedback been of like, wow, seeing this not new side, but this grown, you're evolving.
Yes.
It's always been there.
It's always been there. It just, it didn't know how to come out yet.
You have the opportunity to present it.
You know, my husband and I, we've always had a great marriage. We've been together 17 years, married 10. Yeah. I love him more now than I did then. And he has said, he goes, the way I love you is different now because you love yourself and you love who you have become. And it makes me love you more. And it makes me so happy to be able to see that, because you finally see what I always saw in you.
I love that. I agree with you. I mean, I have not been with my husband the length of time that you've been with yours, but we just approached our 4th year anniversary. We've been together for a little over 6. And I said it to him. I was like, I love you more now. And it just keeps growing, and we keep evolving and changing and becoming better.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a pause here. This is part 1 of my interview with the beautiful Kristin Simone. Please, if you enjoyed this, please like, click, and subscribe. We have part 2. So if you're subscribed, it's going to come right up and let you know when that episode is up and going. If you have any questions, if you're curious about the pageant world or anything like that, please drop them below and we will get back to you on that for sure. Thank you so much for joining me for the Seraphiend podcast, and we'll see you on the other side.